In Lakesh and Veritas, everyone, we're sending you the frequencies of oneness and truth with honor and respect. We welcome you to Of the Sun's weekly Suncast podcast, where we cover evolutionary topics focused on expanding ourselves and humanity into becoming the frequency of truth and shifting one's consciousness into seeing through the lenses of oneness. We're coming live from the frequency and elevation of one mind. We have with us today LaOta of the Sun, who is the guiding force and architect of this vibrant organism, who provides of the Sunners wisdom and guidance so that they can find the truth to be free. I am Tarvars of the Sun, certified instructor and practitioner of the Sun modalities and creative director behind Of the Sun's artwork programs and sessions. So in Lakesh and Veritas with honor and respect, LaOta.
In Lakesh and Veritas, may we have nothing less than the truth.
Nothing less. That's all we want.
That's right.
Yes, ma'am. May we call for the truth?
Yes, shall we call for the truth? We encourage everyone who's listening now and forever to join us in calling for the truth, to call to see the truth in all that you see, call to hear the truth, that the truth may come into your experience that way, to speak the truth, to have the courage to speak the truth, and then call for the vibration of truth to come into your world and eliminate and remove the illusion and delusion that fills up that space. Call for the truth so that we may all be the truth and all of us may see, may we have nothing less than the truth.
Yes, thank you. And speaking of the truth, something that requires us to call for the truth, today's topic, we are diving deep into the discussion of the 3 J's. What is that, you're thinking? It is the topic of judgment, jealousy, and justice. And this is really interesting. I'm just going to pass the ball to LaOta, and we'll take it from there.
So it's the idea of jealousy is such an integral part of how most humans on this planet operate. It's in our DNA. It's the way our families operate. It's the way the lineage operated. We're lying to the children about things. So this idea of there being an ability to lie, we tell them there's Christmas and Santa Claus and the Easter bunnies and rabbits lay eggs and all these things, opens the door to other misconceptions. The other misconceptions that allow us to think that we are what we are not, or to be upset with others because of what they are. And so this is the idea of jealousy, is the idea of looking at being in judgment. You judge someone else to be greater, better, more. You want whatever accolades or energy that they get, and it automatically places you in deficit. You automatically are in subtraction because you have, instead of applauding and wanting for others what you want for yourself, you see it as a competition or a comparison, and that puts you in the position of losing. So this idea of looking at others, I wish I were Beyonce, I wish I was Jay-Z, I wish I was some movie star, or I wish I was some singer, or I want to be that influencer on the internet, on YouTube, so I can do things that way. All of that takes you away from being who you are. All of that copying another person, trying to be another experience, makes you never turn to what's inside of you, that the unique opportunity for you to be who you are. You have already devalued who you are to the level of only looking outside yourself. It is really a very interesting idea, and it's even more than that, because this idea of jealousy is like a heat-seeking missile. So you are jealous of what other people look like, or how much money they have, or what car they drive, and then you're so compelled by that jealousy that you keep running towards events that put you in the middle of people who have more money and drive bigger cars and all the things that you want. It's like you're gravitated to the thing you're obsessed with, and the thing you're obsessed with makes you feel devalued, but you can't stop going out on Friday night to feel devalued. You can't stop doing the things that engaging with people who make you feel less than, because you're so obsessed with the feeling of wanting to continue to propagate the jealousy. Like you feel that way, it doesn't feel good, but everything you do brings you to the experience of feeling it again. And it's like it is in fact a looped pattern that pulls you constantly to the devaluing of self. And so this is a big problem in our culture, the idea of low self-esteem and poor self-image, unrealistic expectations about your relationship to your soul, to your talent, to your skill, to your energy levels. You see someone who's got a dynamo, who's got a lot of energy, producing a lot of things, and you think, I'm jealous of them, but you don't have the energy to, walk from into the kitchen and make yourself a meal. So it's an unrealistic circumstance, but you're caught up in it because you think, well, that should be me. If I were that person, then I would have that experience. But it keeps you turned away from the unique quality, the exquisiteness of who you actually are, and keeps you in a fantasy and a delusion of always being obsessed with another outside of yourself, or with others' opinion of you, or all of these things that are really in the reality don't matter. For instance, if a person has a lot of money and you value that, if they don't have a lot of money, where does that leave them? Where does that leave you? If all you want is money and you don't have money, you automatically make yourself feel less. So what does that mean? What kind of shallow experience are you building your house of cards in? Is that a good start for you?
I think so. So this idea, I'm thinking from my own personal experience as well as others on the line. So I know that within my own journey, this idea of jealousy, thinking, when you hear the word, oh, I'm not jealous, but when you begin to acknowledge the types of thoughts that are coming through the mind, it becomes very apparent, and especially with the practices that we teach. We're teaching all of our clients to be observers of what's taking place in their mind through their practices, taking responsibility for the thoughts that are transmuted. Like what comes up in you when you see someone with something that you desire, and how do you feel, and acknowledging that and marinate and sit in that and correct it. So this idea of jealousy, I see how it is also tied to the envy, and they're almost one and the same. And also how it allows a person to drop into the frequency of shame. You were speaking on this devaluement of self. It's like you become ashamed of who you are because the measuring stick that we've created based on the outside world. And, it from my direct experience, it's a complete level of self-hate. Just straight up, that's what it is. Not loving oneself. And you had something?
I agree. This idea of envy is a overlay. It's the principle is this: if you break one law against yourself, you've broken all the laws. So if you're jealous, you're probably envious too, which is a covetous attitude towards the attributes and possessions of others, a resentfulness to the stature in life. Like a person is respected and you're resentful to that, it creates such ill will against yourself. And then the other person suffers the experience of feeling your negative thoughts towards them, which could be from the level of barely noticeable to a crystallized negative spear that enters their back and that they carry with them for the rest of their lives. This idea is envy is one of the 7 deadly sins. This is what happened with Cain and Abel, which really gives us a little understanding. Even Scripture brings this forward, that one brother was jealous of another, envious of another, to the point of murder. And it's deeply ingrained in the human psyche, in this mass subconsciousness, this idea of this is what humans do. This is what one man does to another. This is what we do to ourselves. So I think the idea of envy coming in, it also allows us to look at the 3 C's, what we teach of the Sun, the 6 C's. 6 C's is that do not condemn, do not covet, do not compare, do not be in competition, do not criticize and complain. If you do this for 10 days, and we recommend everyone, this is a solution, so everyone who's listening, we recommend that you adopt the 6 C's for 10 days. You go 10 days without condemning, without coveting, without comparing, without competition, without criticizing, without complaining. And then when you finish that 10 days, go another 10 days. Then when you finish that 10 days of avoiding condemning and coveting and comparing and competition and criticizing and complaining, then go another 10 days until it becomes a new way of life for you. This is a way to discipline what is in our DNA, what has been insinuated into us through the scriptures and the stories of Cain and Abel, and in many other ways, and what we see in our own families, what we feel from people that's so unclean in the way they think of us, if they envy you, or if the way you think of yourself when you envy another, which is just as unclean. So these things we have solutions, and we have understanding about this. The ill intent of jealousy can be corrected by calling for what is right thinking and what is correct. Call to correct yourself. Call for right thinking. This is, we are living in a world where people are applauding when another person has an accident, when they stumble and fall. This is all about wanting someone to have an experience that matches your own internal experience of dissatisfaction with yourself. You feel like you've fallen down, so you want others to fall down and feel comfortable with you at that place. It's that old adage about crabs in the barrel, pulling others down to the level you're at so that you won't be alone in your darkness.
So I like to bring another perspective into the pot, understanding that what we experience outside of ourselves is really inside of us. So from personal experiences, seeing jealousy directed towards me. And you did mention this idea of like an anger spear, adhering and poking into an organ. Yeah, I've experienced that. But more so, having the awareness real time, like, oh, so-and-so, damn, they got me. But this is something that we rectify and acknowledge within the soul clearing process. And the only way that these things can adhere to us is if we are a frequency match. If there is something that is magnetically able to allow what they send to adhere to us. So the truth is, we can only experience what we are, nothing more, nothing less. This doesn't mean that people won't be judgmental or jealous, but will it penetrate? Will it adhere? So that's the part where the responsibility is up to us. And within my personal journey, seeing and adhering to these principles, feeling the jealousy from someone outside of myself, but recognizing based on the law, okay, what is in me? Okay, you got me. Being in gratitude for the experience of, okay, what is it showing me about myself? And then moving into, where's the jealousy in me? Let me find this within myself, because it's adherent to something, And the beauty is when I decided to move into that, realizing that there were aspects of myself that needed loving, needed acceptance, and they were adhering to that little dark crevice or crack. And I tell you, the moment I began addressing that within myself, the game changed. I was no longer a pincushion for anger spears. Yes. They would send things and it would bounce off. Those are my real sound effects. No audio edits. It's again the idea of being someone who at one point in time, again, because everyone wants to be admired and acknowledged, but we live in a world where we have allowed the authority to be outward, where those who are outside of us, our value is predicated upon their acknowledgement versus us seeing our own divinity. And again, moving back to that self-love, for me, that has been something that was a game changer, but of course, operating within the laws and principles of inline cash and accepting that what's out there is in me and seeing that that was a way I could protect myself.
I am fully in agreement, and I think all of us have had experiences, even with relationships, and we're probably most familiar with jealousy when we think of a partner and being jealous of that person thinking or wanting to be with anyone else or spending time, or that plays out in many ways. It plays out with people who are friend relationships and people who are in lover relationships. But the base of that actually is fear, or fear of loss in a relationship, and this kind of fear can balloon into a paranoia that generates neurotic defensive structures that actually become contagious to the environment around us. It becomes the dominant thought form, and it's not an elevated thought form. So now you're swimming in a frequency soup of paranoia and fear and jealousy that really is a construct of the originator's thinking. It may not have anything to do with reality, or it may be that the other person would like to spend more time because now you are living in a frequency soup of something very unpleasant. Nobody wants to be home with you in that soup. And people don't really see that when they are jealous of another, that they imprison the other person with no regard for that person. You imprison the thought that you direct at the person, imprisons them into the construct that you have developed. So now in your thinking, they are always locked into this enslavement that you have imprisoned them in to serve your lower self-esteem, so that you can have the reoccurring heat missile experience of always going back to them, so that you can feel like something that you believe is already done to you has been done to you. So there are very many levels of consciousness and humanity and thoughts of fear and agony that if we were to bring forth higher frequencies would be very satisfying for us. If we could call on right thinking, call for correction, or just simply call for the truth, to see it, when you look at the person, instead of seeing a threat because you are insecure, you see that there's an opportunity for you to be whatever the greatness in them that is causing you to be antagonistic. Whatever it is, that you would like to have, you can see that, and that you can share in that high frequency, instead of this constantly digging yourself into a hole to take you to what you already think of yourself. This is kind of the looped pattern that we all find ourselves in, keeping us away from our full potential, keeping us in an idea of treachery and illusion where we can't be trusted. Because if someone says, I just got a raise, you're going to go in the other room and kick the dog and punch a hole in the wall because they got a raise and you didn't. And you think that they won't know that you did it. So then there's this whole layer of secretness. Like, I don't want you to know I'm a hater, but I'm definitely a hater, and you really can't trust me to tell me anything good about this in your life, because I'm going to feel some kind of way about it.
Yeah.
I'm going to not be able to even speak because I'm so upset that something wonderful happened to you. Or I'm so excited that something bad happened to you. This is all the flip sides of jealousy. So it's quite debilitating and a disastrous circumstance we find ourselves in, that we work with this frequency of jealousy and don't realize that jealousy eats, and it eats your lies. That's what it has for breakfast. The lies get fat off your constant diet of deceit and juicy jealousies. It's pumped up and fluffy with high caloric indiscretions of syrupy illusions. You like that?
Yeah.
So it kind of goes on that we get ourselves addicted to this way of thinking, and we see it as normal. We don't recognize that if we were right thinking, we would want the best for our children. We wouldn't be jealous of our children. We wouldn't be upset with our children because they have a lover or that we don't, or that they have opportunities that we did not manifest for ourselves. We would want to join and give them power so that we could also be blessed by their successes. But that is not the experience that most are having. We have a lot of people who are so inundated with this idea of jealousy and then deny that they're jealous. They can see that other people may be jealous of them, but don't recognize it's a frequency pattern that's contagious. As you were saying, it's something that you had it, and then people had it for you, and then another part of it is caring what people think. If you have the correct disposition, and you understand that their thoughts are theirs and they're welcome to them, and that they may keep them, and your clarity of them keeping their thoughts to themselves is strong enough, they get to keep their jealousy. So there is that.
I think that's a powerful tool there for anyone that's listening. Shall you not have what I will not give you? It's something that we have been recommending and encouraging to clients to fortify yourself from those who are looking to usurp power from you through these types of ways of, or thought forms and ways of jealousy or envy. As we continue to mention, it is a draining idea. So thank you for that one.
When we, because of the time that we live in and the imbalance in humanity and in mankind on the planet, these great imbalances with the law, we can see it in the reflections in our experiences with others. The imbalance shows itself in entitlement. Somebody walks into your house and feels like they're entitled, a child, a relative, a friend, someone who you may be in business with feels entitled to take whatever they want, and that they're entitled to it. They want it, so they should have it. They thought about it, and they turned around 3 times in front of the door and touched their toes, and so it should be theirs. The jealousy and
I don't think it works that way.
No.
But they're free to think that.
The imbalance, and we see this with so many parents and children, where the children have not yet earned the success of the parent, but are blessed to have been birthed into a circumstance, but the respect for what it took for the parent to achieve whatever that was is not always there, and it sometimes diminishes the child and slows their growth and development when they feel they can just take what they want from whatever the parent has, or the friend or the girlfriend or the partner. This happens across all relationships. People go to high school together and they become friends for life, and when they're 35, they're like, well, your life is my life. I'm going to just take whatever I feel like taking because your life is my life because we went to school together, and I know you like that. And so we have to look at those who are a reflection looking back at us. Whoever is standing in front of you is your reflection at some level. Doesn't mean they are you, but they are aspects of you. And the imbalance that shows itself as entitlement and jealousy, deceit, illusion and delusion, often leads to the person trying to enslave another to their illusion and delusion of entitlement. Like, I want to enslave you to give me everything that you have because I decided I'm entitled to it. So I'm going to be angry with you if you don't give me your success or your money or or anything that you have earned that I have not earned, because what I have done is decided that I want yours. That's my work. I'm a full-time, I want your stuff. You're full-time, reading books, teaching classes, doing whatever you're doing. And or someone who just decides they want you. I want to be you. And so you should make that happen for me, because I have decided that I shall not be me. I shall be you, because I see you have value. So I will adopt and feel entitled to taking your value and overlaying it and rubbing it all over me like lotion. And that also doesn't work, but many people are in this situation. Even more so, there are many marriages where women are brilliant and outstanding and heralded and brought forward for their concern or the nurturing that they do for others, or their intellect or their genius in whatever the area is, and the husbands are so jealous they can barely look at their wives. They're just so disgusted with this idea that no one's talking about me. They're talking about you, without any thought that you haven't done anything worthy of speaking about. And this idea creates a lot of problems in many, many marriages, and many women make themselves smaller because the men that they're with are, and their children and other people, are so diminished by their light. So they make themselves smaller so that they can get along with their children and their partners or their friends. And it's a very unfortunate way of devolving humanity, to make people be less than they are, to catch up with your inadequacies. It's a race towards how bad you feel about yourself. How can I make myself less so I can keep up with your lessness of yourself? That's an interesting concept.
So as you say this, and as well as the examples that you're giving, more so lean towards the idea of the feminine principle, women. I'm seeing where the example of feminism, for example, the understanding that for a very, very long time on our planet, very, 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 very long time, there has been that level of subjugation where the proper respect and honor or adoration or acknowledgement has not been there. So then there's, like, with the feminist movement, there's like this overcorrection where there needs to be that honor, respect, and acknowledgement, but we see that they have made an overcorrection where it's almost as if they flip into the same people who were oppressing them. So, and I can see that dynamic play out, as you say. This plays out in all myriads of relationships, lovers, friends, parent, child. So for the person who is looking to work themselves back up to, let's say, balance, or kind of anchor in their divinity, what would you recommend for them so that overcorrection doesn't happen? Because we see it, that doesn't work. Because you turn into the enemy.
And that's what I was just going to say. In all situations, a person who has been abused in this lifetime or others often will be an abuser. So a person who's been sexually abused, she'll become often, not always, but will become a sexual abuser. A person who has been diminished will become a diminisher, of people, or who feels entitled to let women support them even though they don't support the women back, or let the children support them, or let their friends from high school support them on the football team. It's across genders.
Yes.
But the idea is that in this great time of imbalance, the people who can see that things are out of order aren't able in this environment to bring back balance to a center balanced point. So the person who has been abused now becomes somebody who's in a vigilante group killing people. It's an inappropriate response. So we're seeing these inappropriate responses. However, if you were to call for the truth to see the truth of who you are, and that in almost every experience we have been both the predator and the prey. We have all of us have been victims of jealousy, and we have all had moments of jealousy to whatever degrees. So once you can see it in yourself, you can have the compassion for the human experience. And in that, you can find some level of balance. But we encourage people to call for correction. When you go to bed at night, call for correction. It is created by Source. It is Source that has made the idea, the concept, and the consciousness of correction. And it is propelled by Source. So you could lay down at night and in your sleep could call for the idea that correction enter you and begin to correct whatever needs correcting. You can point it to things, or you could just say, have at it. I got a lot of things going on here. And you can do that every day, and you lose nothing. You're asleep. You didn't have to stop eating. It wasn't raw. It wasn't vegan. You know, all you had to do was say it. You didn't lose any barbecue sauce. It's all good.
No calories gained?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So yes, there in our world at this moment in imbalance, there's very few things that you can look at and say it's balanced. So we could point at many things, but we'd have to point at everything. You know, how many people are balanced? So the people are the ones who make up the organizations. So how could they be balanced if they are not made up of balance? Does that help?
Yeah, that definitely helps. And we're going to take a quick break and come back and talk about justice. Explore that a little further. Look at Veritas, honor, and respect. In Lakesh and Veritas, welcome back to the Suncast podcast, bringing you truth, unfiltered. So in Lakesh and Veritas, LaOta.
In Lakesh and Veritas, and I hope everyone brings themselves back up to calling for truth and how they see things that they should see in their life truth. They should hear from the conversations they have, hear the truth in what people are saying or not saying, and then have the courage to speak the truth, to start bringing truth into your life.
Yes. Quickly, I'd like for us to touch on the 6 C's. And it was sprinkled throughout the conversation, but specifically these principles of do not condemn, do not complain, do not criticize, do not compete, do not covet, and do not compare, and how whenever we engage with these frequencies, these ideas, we are giving away our power. And also, as noted with today's theme, it is an opportunity for us to drop into jealousy or judgment of others, especially with the condemning, and these ideas we are ignoring or kind of putting a spiritual blindfold over our eyes where we can't even see our own divinity, and recognizing that the other person is us. You did mention something about, the success that others have, and when instead of uplifting and being in gratitude, people are like, well, why he or why she get to have that, or that should be me, and that's that complaining, that's that criticizing, that's that comparing, that's the competition. That's 4 out of the 6 C's already hit just from dropping into jealousy or envy. It's fascinating. Actually, I think all 6 were hit.
If you break one law, you break all of them.
There we go. That's the truth.
And the idea of it doesn't even have to be accurate. Someone has an opportunity that has not even been flushed out, and another person is jealous because the opportunity came to another person that has not entered reality yet. Like, you're going to have an opportunity to go talk to someone who can talk to someone who might be able to, in another stretch of your imagination, help you somewhere. And they're like, no, how did you get that almost opportunity to almost get there? And I didn't. it's
Precog jealousy?
Precognition jealousy. So it's much deeper. Jealousy is what we see on the top. Just beneath it, we see judgment, because this idea of judging or valuing someone that's high or low or medium value, their experience, their lives, is an inappropriate circumstance. We should be in discernment, where we discern the truth or the falsehood of things, and that we see that we are connected to people, and if we wish them harm, we most certainly will get what we wish on them. It is a law of this universe that you get who you are. So if you find that people are constantly jealous of you, you really must look at yourself, which is where the justice comes in. The justice comes in and said, in the act of jealousy is the reward for the jealousy, which is justice, just what you deserve. You get what you are, not necessarily what you're calling for, because what you're calling for is what you are. So in having low frequency towards another, even if it's a very small thing, it's something that needs to be corrected, and you can call on the consciousness of correction. But more importantly, if you call for the truth, you'll realize all of that is a lie. Any lower opinion of yourself is a lie. Any doubt you have is a lie. Any procrastination is a lie. Any lack of energy is a lie. Call for the truth, so that when justice comes, you get just what you deserve.
I think we can all see how it's beneficial to be on the right side of justice, operating correctly. And again, these are just merely, how I perceive it, this is just merely universal law at play. And just being an acceptance of it and adhering to it for ourselves and for all parties concerned. I see how this is just of such great importance.
Our belief systems are everything. The constructs and the beliefs that we have support and dictate everything we do. It is so important, if you believe yourself to be less than, that you change that, so that you don't contaminate others with your belief, the lie, that you're less than, and then you make them less than too. The belief is often an emotional commitment to a mental construct that aligns with and supports what we already think about ourselves or the circumstance. That's what belief does. It leaves no room for factual evidence to the contrary of our belief. So every experience you have will show you that you are less than because you believe you're less than. So you have to apprehend those thoughts as they come up, and then direct them away from you. Replace them with correction. Replace them with right thinking. Replace the lie with the truth. Don't allow the lies to devour you in a world where there's nothing but fake news.
I'm marinating. That's deep. So I think we're going to go ahead and wrap this up, because this was a very robust idea of jealousy, and I'm sure that many of those who are listening can relate at various levels and degrees regarding seeing this within your relationships, seeing this within yourself, and also as it applies to the laws that we have shared of we can only experience what we are. And then all the many tools that LaOta shared today. Call forth correction. Correct what is in you that the lie outside of you is adhering to. Calling for the truth so that we can see our divinity, have more compassion for ourselves, have compassion for those that are outside of us who don't understand what they're really doing because they don't see the connectivity. So again, this is really major, and again, touching on the idea of truth. By the way, for those who are listening, if you have not heard, LaOta of the Sun has released a new book called, you guessed it, Call for the Truth. And this book essentially is a snapshot of the human condition, everything that we have experienced over time, humanity's history, that has gotten us into much of what we find ourselves today, from the lockdowns to the suppression of women, the truth regarding the polarities of divine masculine and feminine and what has happened in our human history. Also the idea of the major corporations and the killing of the feminine principle or the creation principle on our planet, and our individual part within this, and the solution to Call for the Truth. So it is a very vivid read, and it is also an activator that we actually have a podcast. We have a book review, so you may want to give that a listen. There's a number of individuals who read the book and gave their own reviews of how the book has impacted them. You can find this on the Of the Sun website. On the home page, if you scroll down, you'll see the picture of the beautiful book cover, accompanied with a beautiful photo of LaOta staring at her beautiful book. And yeah, it's available for PDF download. You can drop it into your Kindle app, whether on your laptop, tablet, or phone, so it's made with ease. And there'll be a physical publication release too, so be on the lookout for that. We're very excited. A lot of new things happening.
If you want to know more about jealousy, that is the book to read. It is a clear, soul-certain, identifying idea of where jealousy has gotten us in our world today. It's highly recommended. We hope that you'll enjoy it. In Location Veritas, with honor and respect.
Location Veritas, with honor and respect.